Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the DFS show for February the 8th. We've got a 6-game slate on tonight's NHL schedule. I hope you guys all had a good weekend. Hope you guys enjoyed the Super Bowl last night. Wasn't exactly the most exciting Super Bowl ever, but still, Tom Brady, just absolutely incredible. Was it 7 Super Bowls now for him? I mean, it's just unbelievable stuff. But I'm not here to talk about football. I'm here to talk about hockey, so let's get right into it. Pretty cool slate tonight, I think. A lot of good games. It looks like it should be a nice night for DFS. 6-game slates, kind of like the perfect size. Really like this size slate, so it should be good. I hope you guys still had a successful DFS weekend, even without the DFS show. But yeah, so again, the viewer count continues to climb. So if you are new to the show, all the stuff you're going to see here today in the Google Sheets is available behind a paywall. As for DFO premium subscribers, you can join for as little as $9.99 a month or a week. Sorry, $19.99 for the month. So pretty affordable, especially if you're racking up the wins in DFS. Another cool thing we added today is I started a Discord chat. So for any of our premium subscribers that haven't joined yet, there's a Discord channel where we can basically, you guys can talk to each other about who you want to play tonight. And then it's also just a spot for me to kind of alert you guys when all the premium stuff is going to be posted. And then if you guys have any questions for me, you guys got access to me as well. I'll be on there before lock and trying to answer his questions as much as I can. So again, if you're a premium subscriber, make sure you join the Discord channel. So let's get into tonight's slate. We've got the Columbus Blue Jackets hosting the Carolina Hurricanes. Really weird game there yesterday. Hopefully a little bit better officiating in tonight's game, but it's going to be Jonas Korpisalo going again for the Blue Jackets. Their second and third string goaltenders are both out with injury right now, so they're going to have to ride Korpisalo here for a bit. Alex Nedeljkovic, he's going to get his first start of the season for the Hurricanes. The Ottawa Senators will go back to Matt Murray for the third straight game. He's played a lot better in his last 2 outings. He's stopped 66 of the last 70 shots he's faced. That is a 943 save percentage. Mike Smith makes his season debut for the Oilers, was activated off of a long-term IR yesterday, and makes his first start of the season tonight. The last time Matt Murray played the Oilers, it was pretty ugly, so he's going to be looking for a better showing. But the Senators, for whatever reason, have just been a lot better on home ice, even though this is going back to last year. So I'd expect a little bit of a better showing from them tonight. And if you've been following the show kind of regularly, you'll know that I'm a little bit higher on the Senators than most people. I really don't think that they're that bad, at least at 5v5. And as you can see, these last couple of games, when they're getting saves, they're a little bit better. But Montreal has also been a team that has struggled against bottom feeders. Going back to last year, they didn't win a game against Detroit. So maybe it's a bit of a mirage. Maybe the Oilers are going to come in here and just absolutely destroy them again. We'll have to see. Again, Frederik Andersen not confirmed for the Maple Leafs, but usually no news is good news for Frederik Andersen and him getting the nod. Like I've mentioned before, if a backup goalie is starting for the Maple Leafs, if it was Michael Hutchinson, all of their reporters would be screaming from the rooftops that Michael Hutchinson's starting tonight. So no news should be good news. Frederik Andersen expected to go for the Leafs. Braden Holtby makes his first, starts back-to-back games for the first time in a Canucks uniform. So it should be interesting. Igor Shesterkin was just confirmed before I came live on air. He goes against Semyon Varlamov for the Islanders. Jordan Binnington starts for the Blues. The Coyotes surprisingly did not announce a starting goalie. Normally they do. But Darcy Kemper and Antti Raanta both coming off a really strong start. So it shouldn't really matter who starts at their price tag. Pretty decent options tonight. Predators, as you guys know, almost never let us know who's starting. They do put out like a projected lineup on their official team website, and it did have Pekka Rinne listed as the number 1 goalie. So, definitely not confirmed, definitely not even likely, but he is projected to start. And Curtis McElhinney makes his first start of the season for the Lightning. And then again, if you guys have any questions throughout the show, feel free to drop them in the chat, and I will get to as many of them as possible. But let's start with the first game of the night. So we've got the Hurricanes in Columbus. Carolina 1 comes out on top in this game. Pretty favorable matchup for them. The model here really does not like Columbus at all. All 3 of their lines negative ratings tonight. Patrick Laine's looked pretty solid in his brief stint, but he's 7,000, so I'm not a huge fan of him tonight. There's a lot better high-priced options out there. So not a whole lot of interest in Columbus. All three of their lines with negative game scores tonight. So not a big fan there. Obviously, if I'm not, if their lines don't look very good, I do have a little bit of interest in Nedeljkovic, 7,700. Actually, I think he might be 7,600, but regardless, not, mid-price goal, he should be a fine option. Let me just pull it up here. 70, nope, that's not him. He is 7,700, so it was right. Some of these prices have been off lately. I don't know why. But yeah, so a little bit of interest in him. If we want to talk about the why I like the Hurricanes so much, obviously Carolina 1's a line that we like quite a bit on this show, talk about them a lot. As you can see here, they are going to see about 37% of their ice time against the Patrick Laine-Roslovic combination, and 32% of their ice time against the third line of the Blue Jackets, which they change their lines every single day, so I don't really know. That is the Riley-Nash combo. So, pretty favorable matchups on paper if we want to look at the statistics. You will notice here, I did add up an offensive score and a defensive score for every single line today. Basically, that's just kind of the sum of all of the statistics that you see here, weighted against the average of all the lines on tonight's slate. So on the blue side, or on the offensive side, blue is obviously good, means they're good offensive line. Red means that they are bad. And then on the other side, blue is basically a line that we are going to want to target. If it's red, like this Carolina 4, means they're very good defensively, not a line that we're really interested in targeting from a DFS perspective. But as you can see here, actually Carolina grades out as the best offensive line on the entire slate tonight. So definitely a really good spot for them, averaging 36 scoring chances for per 60, 18 high danger chances for, just tremendous numbers for them. The Laine Roslovic, and I think it's Cam Atkinson. Yeah, they've actually been pretty good defensively, as you can see here. Only 19 scoring chances against, small sample size though, but pretty decent. And then the third line, the Riley-Nash line, really doesn't get anything going offensively, and they have been so defensively, but it's really just how good Carolina is offensively that makes them stand out in the model. The second line actually grades out pretty well as well. You can see here a little bit behind Carolina 1, but I just don't have a lot of interest there because the price is pretty similar. Like Vincent Trocheck is getting up to a level where it's kind of like, it's too much. He has been absolutely outstanding early on, but it's just a little too expensive for me. I mean, $100 cheaper than Sebastian Aho. I'm just not going to go there. It's not like Niederreiter and Teravainen are super, the savings is okay from Svechnikov to Niederreiter, but it's not, big enough where I'm really going to target like a Trocheck Niederreiter mini versus a Svechnikov Aho mini. So much prefer Carolina 1 tonight. I just don't like Carolina's two's price, but they definitely are in play. They've been an outstanding line as well. The stats, like literally almost the exact same as the Aho line, as you can see here. Pretty good. The O score is very similar to Carolina 1, so definitely Carolina 2. Just I don't like the price as much. Moving on, we've got the Senators and the Oilers. This game, obviously, we'll see quite a bit of ownership tonight. If I go back to last week, I think there was an 8-5 game between these two teams. So definitely the potential for a shootout, for some real fireworks in this game tonight. Unsurprisingly, Edmonton won, the best stack in this game. Edmonton 2, still their offensive numbers continue to lag behind Edmonton 1 quite a bit. I don't even know if I'm going to play too much Nugent Hopkins tonight. I mean, with McDavid's elevated price tag, it's up to $9,000. It's just crazy expensive. So it's going to be really hard to stack Edmonton 1, like full stack Edmonton 1 with anybody else really of any value. But I do have quite a bit of interest in a McDavid Puljujarvi mini stack. Puljujarvi has been playing very well lately. He's really starting to get things going. I think he's got goals in back-to-back games, if I'm not mistaken. It might even be 3 in a row. So yeah, goals in back-to-back games, 4 and 3 shots in those games. In the most recent game in Calgary, he played 19 minutes. So coaching staff definitely seems to be trusting him a lot more. It allows you to play McDavid with some of these other really good lines if you just kind of mini them. And then if you look at the way that the Oilers have configured their power plays, like especially Edmonton, like you're not really targeting their second power play unit because they almost never see the ice. but there is a decent amount of correlation between Evan Bouchard and Jesse Puljujarvi. So even at 5v5, I think they've been playing a decent amount of ice time. I haven't seen what Evan Bouchard's deployment is going to be like in road games, but on home ice, he's been seeing a good amount of ice time. So, playing Bouchard and playing Puljujarvi with McDavid is a really good way to save some salary and allows you to play some of these other high-priced options. So I really like Bouchard, 4 and 3 shots in his first 2 games. The usage isn't great, but in a game where they're playing against the Senators, this is a game where the Oilers could obviously take an early lead, and then his deployment or his usage should be much greater at that point. Sheldon Keefe, get out of here. You're kind of freaking me out. But so yeah, I think that's the kind of the best way to approach the Oilers tonight is play that little that 3-player mini, and then it allows you to play some of these other really good lines. I've mentioned Edmonton 2 just really not doing a whole heck of a lot. Their numbers aren't that terrific. Like as you can see here, a really good O score for Edmonton 1. Edmonton 2 is in negative. So they're literally a below average offensive line on tonight's slate. So I just, until they really start to get things going, I don't have a lot of interest in playing anybody other than Connor McDavid. Obviously, a Connor McDavid stacking Leon Draisaitl with Connor McDavid, especially against the Senators team, and hoping for some power play production is always a prudent play. But I think that there's some other expensive options, I should say, out there tonight that I'm going to probably stay off of Draisaitl. In terms of the matchups, Connor McDavid's expected to play about 71% of his ice time against the middle 6 from the Senators. If we look at how the middle 6 of the Senators stacks up, really nobody on their team is that locked down defensively. So this is the Chris Tierney and the Colin White lines. Definitely lines that we are interested in targeting specifically with Connor McDavid. So there should be very little resistance from the Senators tonight and Connor McDavid. I mean, we were talking about Connor McDavid on pace for he's averaging 2 points a game right now. The fact that it looks like he's, as long as he stays healthy, is going to eclipse 100 points in a 56 game season is just asinine. Obviously, the fact that this North Division defense really seems to be optional. The Senators, the Canucks specifically, have just been terrible defensively. So the fact that we're even talking about that, his price tag is elevated. It's up to 9,000, but I'll pay that for Connor McDavid. He's just been lights out, averaging 2 points a game. He's going to pay value most nights, even at 9K. So if we want to look at the Senators, Brady Tkachuk's been really good this season. Evgeny Dadonov, still waiting for him to get going. He's been off to a slow start. He addressed that a little bit to the media today, that he's just been kind of out of the gate slow. So he, I think he's a decent play at 3,400. He should start to get things going. I don't like paying 6,700 for Tkachuk, but if you want to kind of go contrarian and play the Senators, I think that's a fine play. Like I said, they're really not that bad. They've been better on home ice. Mike Smith, I think he had a 902 save percentage last year. So the Senators are definitely in play tonight. Dadonov and Tkachuk mini, perhaps, if you want to get some of that power play correlation. It's unfortunate that Josh Norris was bumped to the second unit. The full power play, the first full top line stack, if they were all in the same power play, would be really appealing. But just, even if you go Dadonov Norris as a mini stack, I don't mind that, just because it's super cheap and this should be a high scoring game. But I think the line I actually prefer is Edmonton 2. They grade out a little bit better. I've been playing Colin White a ton lately, and he's been really good, and his price really hasn't changed. So he's a decent one-off. Colin White by himself at 3,500. Shot volume's been solid. He's got a goal and assist in his last 4 games, but he's been involved in the offense quite a bit. He's playing around 15, 16 minutes a night. So I don't mind playing Colin White and maybe even Jake Batherson as a mini stack, but Colin White kind of as a one-off is fine. If you guys are going to be playing Colin White, I don't mind playing Eric Brandstrom as a deep hunt, really talented puck-moving defenseman, really young. He's seen 16 and 15 and a half minutes in his first 2 games. The DraftKings points definitely haven't been there, but he's talented enough where in a game that could turn into a shootout, he can definitely get on the board. So those are some cheap options to go to look at if you're looking at game stacking this game. You can go all in with like an Edmonton power play stack and then run it back with some really cheap but pretty talented young players from the Senators. So I like those, Ottawa to a decent amount tonight as a value option. Moving on to the third game, Toronto and Vancouver. Just got here a little bit behind the video, but thank you for content like this. No problem at all. Honestly, like my job is literally write about hockey all day, then come in here at 5:15, talk about hockey, and then basically as soon as it's done, warm up start, and then I watch hockey. It's pretty fun time. So I enjoy bringing this content to you guys. I hope you guys are enjoying it. If you are, smash that like button on YouTube because it helps a ton. But let's move on to Toronto and Vancouver. Where is it? Third game right here. Okay. So Toronto won unsurprisingly. White or McGinn as one off. Probably White. I think his production's a little bit more sustainable. But if you need the salary savings to go down to Brock McGinn, he's fine. I think he's 2,900, so you're saving $600. So if you need that savings, they're probably pretty even. He's not like Colin White's a little bit better of a overall offensive hockey player, but McGinn's in a great spot with Aho and Svechnikov, so they're both fine. I prefer White a little bit, but if you need the savings, McGinn's fine. Also, do you like Edmonton's goalie? No, not really. I think this has a chance. I just don't think Mike Smith's that great. Is he 6,500 for real though? Okay, if he's 6,500, yeah, I do like Mike Smith. I can't believe that's how cheap he is. How much was Koskinen? So is it because he was hurt? Oh man, that's crazy. So yeah, I do like Mike Smith. I did not even realize he was 6,500 until right now. Koskinen is what, 82? Yeah, so it was just because he was hurt. They were not anticipating this. So yeah, Smith is definitely in play at 6,500. That's incredible value. As I've mentioned on the show before, the Senators really seem to be half decent at generating offense. So the shot volume is definitely going to be there, or save volume, I guess you could call it. I wouldn't be surprised if Mike Smith doesn't have a great game. So fading him is also definitely an option because he is going to probably be fairly highly owned at 6,500 in a decent matchup. Obviously if he has a good game and makes 30 saves because the shot volume is definitely going to be there, then he's going to be the best goalie to play. But his first game of the season, it's not as appealing of a matchup as you might think. But at 6,500, yeah, holy shit, he's definitely a great play. And Tanner says, smash the like button. Yes, please do that. But okay, let's get back to things. Mike Smith at 6,500 will definitely address that a little bit more here. I might have to go back and tweak my lineups. I don't know how I didn't even notice that. That's insane. I love it. So Toronto won, unsurprisingly, comes out on top. They are the top stack of the night. Austin Matthews is on another level right now. He's been absolutely outstanding. The Canucks really have been just an absolute tire fire defensively. Braden Holtby and JT Miller had a little bit of a blow up last game. But to be honest with you, I do expect the Canucks to potentially play better tonight. I don't think that they're just going to get run out of the building again. There's too much pride. They've got to figure it out eventually. But that being said, I would be equally unsurprised if they get absolutely destroyed. So it can go one way or the other. I do expect them to play a little bit tighter, but that doesn't really change my mind on Toronto 1. They're still my top stack of the night. Matthews is almost as expensive as McDavid at 8,800, 7,700 for Marner. Definitely like them a lot, but they're expensive, so it's very difficult. Like if you want to play Connor McDavid and Matthews together, it's very difficult. Although you can definitely play Mike Smith, and that opens things up in net. So if we look at the matchup, it's expected to be about 47% of Matthews' ice time against the Elias Pettersson line. So basically, let's say 80% of their ice time is going to be against the top six, which is the Pettersson and the Horvat lines. The O score for the Maple Leafs really good, 5.61. Obviously, tremendous offensive numbers across the board. Meanwhile, Vancouver is aligned to target for sure. Specifically that Pettersson line. So it's just, it looks like an excellent spot for Matthews and Marner. If you've been playing a lot of DFS, that they are going to be highly owned. They always are, but they should be tonight. They're going to be chalky, but you're going to have to eat the chalk, I think, with Toronto tonight. The Canucks just really haven't been able to do anything. They, letting guys like Chris Tanev walk this offseason really seems to be biting them in the ass right now. So I just absolutely love Toronto. The one really cool thing for Matthews and Marner tonight is the Maple Leafs. So it sucks because on last Thursday's show, I said, let's play Matthews, Marner, and Simmons together. And it didn't really work. Simmons didn't do shit. But if I would have done a show on Saturday, I would have said to go back to it because I went back to it. And Simmons had 2 goals. They lit it up. It was just an unbelievable stack. Simmons got hurt though. So with Simmons getting hurt, they're going to go with 11 forwards and 7 defensemen. That's why if you look here, we don't have a winger listed for Nylander and Tavares because Joe Thornton skated there in the game day skate, but he's not playing. So they're going to go with 7 defensemen. So look for Matthews and Marner to double shift quite a bit. Look for them to play a little bit with Tavares and Nylander. And that just kind of builds on their overall appeal for this evening. The one thing that's also really nice is John Tavares gets elevated to that top power play unit tonight with Simmons out. So they're kind of going back to that load up the top power play. So if you're not playing the Oilers, if you're not playing McDavid, I don't hate going like Marner, Matthews, Tavares, kind of doing a Maple Leafs power play stack. I think that's definitely in play tonight against the Canucks. It's weird. The Canucks are just getting absolutely caved in at 5v5, but their penalty kills actually been pretty solid. I think they're around 80%, as we can see here. Yeah, so Toronto's power play 38.5%. The Canucks power penalty kill at 80%, but like look how bad they are defensively. Like all red numbers, they're just horrendous defensively. The Maple Leafs have been really solid, so I like the Maple Leafs a lot. I do like that power play stack. The Maple Leafs have been pretty solid defensively too. So Vancouver's all 3 of their lines. Their first and third line grade out as below average plays. Their second line grades out okay, but I just have no interest in playing a line with Louis Eriksson on it, so I'm not going to go there tonight. I don't know. Something is not going right in Vancouver right now, so I'm probably going to stay away until they right the ship. But if you want to get contrarian, if you want to go the other way, I still don't hate the Elias Pettersson line. There is just too much talent on that line for them to continue to struggle all season long. We've seen them kind of pop off, especially on the power play in the last couple of weeks, and their price is super cheap. I mean, if $17,000 to full stack them is definitely appealing, but their numbers are bad. Like you got to kind of know that if you're going to play them, the potential of them busting is huge. It's definitely out there. But at that price tag, they can pay off that price tag extremely easily. So I think that they're an appealing option if you're building multiple lineups. I definitely would sprinkle them in because they're too talented to be only 17,000. But just know that it might go poorly. Okay, Rangers and Islanders. The Islanders were kind of just limping along there for a little bit, and then they finally got things going. Louis Eriksson's empty net sniper. You saying Canucks won't be enough to pull for the Leafs to pull the goalie? Yeah, I mean it's possible. I did say I think that there is a chance that they come, they bring it a little bit more tonight, but I'm not going to play Louis Eriksson on the hope that they're going to pull the goalie and he's going to snipe at the empty net. He is an empty net sniper though. You were right about that, Matt. But yeah. The Islanders finally seem to get things going. I'm really not that surprised that they've been struggling, missing Anthony Beauvillier. It's a huge loss for them. So I'm a huge Beauvillier fan. I knew that when he came out of the lineup, it was going to hurt them. But the way they've shaken up the lines a little bit makes it somewhat appealing. The Brock Nelson, Jordan Eberle stacks seems to be okay. Eberle had a huge game the other night on the weekend, but Nelson at 4,500, Eberle at 5,200 is a nice little mini stack option. Their underlying numbers when Nelson plays with Eberle, pretty solid. They're expected to see 50% of their ice time against the Artemi Panarin line. So the Panarin line, pretty decent defensively this year, all things considered. But as you can see here, the Nelson and Eberle combo has been really solid over the years. 35 scoring chances for per 60. 15 high danger chances for. So if I'm targeting the Islanders tonight, it's definitely going to be Islanders too. I don't really have a whole lot of interest in playing Michael Del Cole. So it would probably be an Eberle Nelson mini. Unfortunately, they don't play on the same power play unit. So at that point, my preferred option would be Noah Dobson on D. But if you need to pay down to Nick Leddy, I don't know what the price is. Leddy's 3,800. Dobson is definitely getting up there, 4,300. But if you need the couple $100 savings, Leddy's fine. But really not, I'm not overly heavy sarcasm. Yes, not overly enamored with the Islanders tonight. But if I'll probably sprinkle in a little Eberle and Nelson. Hopefully they can stay hot. As you can see, Islanders top line, the Barzell line loses a lot of its appeal, taking Eberle off and replacing him with Josh Bailey. Their numbers drop pretty considerably down to 25 scoring chances, 4 per 60. So not a whole lot of interest in them tonight. On the flip side, the Rangers, quite a bit of interest in Rangers. Both the Rangers' top two lines. The second line, the Panner and Strome. Kako line grades out a little bit better, and I definitely prefer them. Strome's really starting to kind of get things going again, similar to last season at 4,000, and Kako at 2,600. Just really good value on a slate that is kind of lacking it, and a slate that you're definitely going to need to find some value because of how expensive McDavid and Matthews are, and they're going to be the favorites in a lot of these lineups. So, you're going to need to find some value, and I think Kako and Strome is a good way to do that. Even Panarin at 6,800 is a really nice price. They're $3,000 cheaper, almost $3,000 cheaper to full stack than New York 1, and they grade out better. So New York 2 is preferred tonight just because of the salary savings. It's going to be really, if the Rangers were in a better spot, I wouldn't mind the Zibanejad line, but he's still kind of slow out of the gates here. And you're going to need the savings if you're going to play some of these other lines. So for me, it's New York 2. And as once again, this is another spot where you can play Andre Miller with them, 2,800. He's been blocking shots pretty regularly recently. His usage continues to climb. He played 22 minutes the other night. You'd like to see him get involved in the offense a little bit more, but the fact that, given the usage and given his propensity to block shots, he's a fine play at 2,800, and he'll play quite a bit of ice time at 5v5, correlate with the New York Rangers second line pretty well. So I like him. I think that's probably my favorite value stack of the night. Specifically, even if you leave Panarin off, it's not ideal. Like, I would definitely prefer to get Panarin in that Rangers 2 stack. He's kind of the whole reason you're playing them. But if you need to save the salary, I don't hate going like Strome, Kako, Andre Miller. I think you could do much worse than that on a slate that's pretty devoid of value. So they're a fine play. Moving on, we've got the Blues and the Coyotes. I think they've played like 12 times in a row now. Like every single night, it seems to be Blues and Coyotes, and it's really not that appealing of a matchup from a DFS perspective. But it's COVID, and this is kind of where we're at. Fernando says, thanks for the show as always. Thoughts on Mikheyev or Sandin with Simmons out, both almost mid-price? I do like Mikheyev a little bit. I think that Mikheyev, once Simmons left the other night, Mikheyev did play a decent amount with Tavares and Nylander. So I think that he is definitely going to see some minutes with them. So I definitely like Mikheyev. Sandin, I'm probably not going to go there. I just don't think he's going to play enough. I think that there's a chance that he sees some power play time. But I would probably prefer to play Mikko Lehtonen over Sandin. He just seems to be a little bit more involved. But even Lehtonen, he's only playing he played 14 minutes the other night. Before that, he was kind of under 10. So I don't know. I just don't know where the usage is going to land for either one of those guys. So I would much prefer kind of playing somebody like Miller, just because you he's going to play 20 minutes. And if you play Sandin and he plays like 7 minutes, it's really not worth it. But I do like Mikheyev to answer that portion of the question. Sorry. A little hungover. It was a Super Bowl Sunday yesterday. Where are we at? St. Louis. Okay. So unsurprisingly, if you've been watching the show regularly, St. Louis 2 comes out on top. I think we can almost start calling them St. Louis 1. Ivan Barbashev moves to the wing with Ryan O'Reilly tonight, really zaps a lot of their offensive upside. The O'Reilly line really hasn't been all that great offensively so far this season. But that's not really their game. They're out there trying to shut down the opposition's top line for the most part, and Shen does most of the work. The really interesting thing, oftentimes I really like St. Louis 2, and I'm all in on them. Given the way this slate kind of breaks down, I'm not as crazy on them tonight as I normally am, but check out these new power play units. So Schwartz, Shen, Kyrou all together on the top power play unit with Krug and Dunn. That really is interesting to me. Krug is 5,500. Dunn is much cheaper at 3,500. So playing Dunn with them is definitely in play tonight. It's not expensive, as they're getting up there in price, but it's still only 15,600 to full stack them. Schwartz just 4,600, Kyrou back down under 5K, and then Dunn 3,500. You can almost use, it's a full power play stack for 19,000. So super cheap power play stack that's really effective. So I do like that quite a bit. if we want to look at it, the Coyotes do have, the best penalty kill on tonight's slate, so it's definitely not the best spot in the world, but just given the price, it's not going to be a popular play because everyone else is going to flock to Toronto and Edmonton. So it is kind of a contrarian play. It's not great, but the way, given how hot they've been throughout the entire first month of the season, St. Louis 2 can definitely go off. They're expected to see about 69% of their ice time. Oh, no, sorry, that's the top line. Second line is expected to see 35% of their ice time against the second line and 44% of their ice time against the Arizona Coyotes fourth line. So if we look at those numbers again, if you are not a DFO premium subscriber, sucks. You should be. You can do it for very cheap, and you get access to all of these charts much earlier than, basically you get this information right now and you got to build lineups in a half hour, where if you're DFO premium subscriber, this information was up at 1:00 this afternoon and you had a lot more time to kind of go through it and build lineups. So become a DFO premium subscriber, get all this information much earlier in the day. As you can see, tremendous O score for St. Louis too, but not great matchups really. The second and third line for Arizona has been pretty good defensively. Both above average defensively, specifically the fourth line, which is the Johan Larsson line, I believe. And he's been, one of the best shutdown fourth line centers in the NHL for a few seasons now. So again, not a tremendous matchup. I do like St. Louis 2 on most nights quite a bit. Tonight, not quite as much, but at the super low ownership and given the way the new power play is configured, I think it is an interesting play. From the Arizona side of things, the second line, not Nick Schmaltz. Christian Dvorak just seemingly just keeps scoring, even though the numbers are terrible. This is wrong. This is not Drake Kajula. That's supposed to be Lawson Krause. I'm gonna fix that. But the only line I'm playing from this team right now is Nick Schmaltz, Clayton Keller, Connor Garland. They're by far their best line, and they're the only ones that I trust to do anything. Sorry, I just had to put Carson lineup. Got a little sidetracked. But still, their numbers aren't great, but they're the only line that's above average offensively on the entire Coyotes roster. But they are going to play 50% of their ice time against Ryan O'Reilly, which is less than ideal. As you can see, Ryan O'Reilly, really good defensively. So no interest in the Coyotes, not tonight. There is going to be nights where they have better matchups where I will go to them. I do like Connor Garland, Nick Schmaltz quite a bit, but not tonight. Final game of the night, Nashville Predators, Tampa Bay Lightning. Predators got some brutal news today. Ryan Johansson is out week to week, going to land on IR. So their lineup is looking pretty brutal. Absolutely love this top line. They crushed it for us last week. Last Thursday, we played them at super low ownership. Forsberg went absolutely apeshit, which was terrific. So I do like them tonight quite a bit. They are going to be super low owned. I think a lot of people will. Nobody ever plays Nashville really. So I do like Forsberg, Duchesne, and Granlund quite a bit. The rest of this lineup is just no thank you. Calle Jarnkrok as a second line center is not very appealing. If this game was in Tampa Bay, I would have no interest whatsoever in the Predators, but because it is in Nashville, they get the last change. We do project Nashville 1 to play 50% of their ice time against the Lightning. The Lightning's top line, which is definitely the worst defensive line for Tampa Bay. If this game was in Tampa, they'd be getting that Cirelli line. They'd be getting that Gord line out against Forsberg as much as possible, and they'd be hemmed in the whole game. We've talked about how the Cirelli and the Gord line give up absolutely nothing. Like the Gord line is insane. Like the Gord line averages more high danger chances for than just regular scoring chances against, which is insane. Like it's unheard of. Like they're unbelievable. They are the best not talked about line in like the history of the NHL, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, the fact that Nashville has the last change, they're pretty good. Offensively, 32 scoring chances, 4 per 60, 14 high danger chances, really good numbers. And they're going to see 50% of their ice time against the Braden Point line, which looks like a very high event matchup. So 28 scoring chances against per 60 from the point line. I didn't love Nashville coming into the day, but then once Curtis McElhinney got confirmed, definitely I got turned on to them a little bit more. McElwain has been, really solid during his time in Tampa Bay, but he's just not Andre Vasilevsky, right? So I do have some interest in Nashville 1. They grade out pretty well. Actually, the best play in this game for me. Meanwhile, the Tampa Bay's top line is obviously their best option. They're really the only line that you can play. Like, as much as I love the Gord line, they still don't. They play relatively low event. Their numbers are terrific, but they're not guys that are going to go out and kind of like break the slate. They're not going to score a ton of goals. But they are super cheap, so they're definitely decent value. I probably will never play Barclay Goodrow as long as I live. But a Gord Coleman mini is always okay for value. And tonight you are going to need that. Blake Coleman is not the same shooter that he was when he was with New Jersey, where he would just rack up like 9 shots on any given night. But he has been very consistent, about 2 or 3 shots every single night, has picked up 2 goals in 8 games, 6 points overall. So Coleman at 3,700, definitely fine. They're just, like I said, they're under the radar. People, I don't think realize just how good they are, like offensively as well as defensively. Gord, same thing. Probably the most talented offensive player on that line. Still not the terrific results to show for it, but decent play at 3,800. Not a whole lot of interest in Tampa Bay's top line. They're expected, like I said, to see about 43% of their ice time against Nashville 1, 25% of their ice time against Nashville 4. Nashville has been pretty solid defensively so far this season, all above average defensively thus far. So definitely not a great spot for Tampa Bay. Nashville has been, relatively leaky in certain occasions. We've seen, the scores get racked up in some of their games, but also we've seen some very low event, boring, like low scoring games from them. So it doesn't look like the best spot for Tampa Bay 1 tonight. So I probably won't go there. There's no sense paying. Where are they here? 7,600 and 8,200 for point in Stamkos, when I think that for almost the same price, you can play like Mitch Marner and Matthews, and they're just in a much better spot. But I do like Tampa Bay 3 a little bit here, these two for value. And then Nashville 1 again. It looks like, a really good low owned kind of mid price option this evening. Do I like Stützle? I absolutely love the player. Tonight at 3,900, he's okay. The usage has been climbing. Played 17 minutes the other night. The shots there. The fact that he has been moved up to the top power play unit definitely increases how much I like him. I just don't like the fact that he's playing with Chris Tierney and Connor Brown at even strength. They're expected to play 49% of their minutes against Connor McDavid, which is obviously horrendous. They're going to be getting caved in for the most part. Like the Connor McDavid line isn't like the greatest defensive line in hockey, but they don't have to be because they always have the puck. So I don't like Stützle's fine as a one-off at 3,900 because of the power play, but like I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't have a single shot at even strength. But for power play, he's fine at 3,900, but I think there's a couple better value options tonight. But again, if this turns into a shootout and he's on the top power play unit, then he could pay off at 3,900 for sure. But at 5v5, like he needs to be bumped in that top 6. I would much prefer, like, I don't know why he's not with Colin White. That would be such a better offensive line. And Nick Paul is a solid 2-way forward. And if they want to use Tierney as a shutdown center, it doesn't make any sense to me the way they do this, but whatever. Obviously, they're putting Paul with White to bring a little bit of defensive stability to that line, and that's fine if that's what you want to do, but they're still getting caved in. So you might as well just put Stützle up there, and at least you have a decent chance at scoring a goal, where Tierney is just a black hole of offense, pretty much. Cheap D, yes. Lots of them tonight. I like quite a few. So again, I showed you guys a couple, if you guys watched the show, I think it was last Tuesday, Wednesday, one of those days. I think it was Wednesday when there was only 2 games, kind of like my process in terms of finding cheap D. So I always like to correlate my cheap D with the lines I'm playing, right? So you're going to want to do the same. So it depends who you're playing, which D you're going to want to play. But if we're talking about the cheap one, so like let's say you're playing Carolina 1, you're going to want to play Brett Pesce. 3,300. He's outstanding. Just had a huge game actually last night. But even before that, he was somebody that we were talking about, plays huge minutes. Saw an increase the other night. He is on the top pair with Jakub Slavin now. So Pesci at 3,300, absolutely outstanding play tonight. I still do like Jacob Trouba quite a bit at 3,700. He had 9 block shots the other night, just ridiculous. So Jacob Trouba still way too cheap. Plays like 25 minutes a night. So Jacob Trouba 3,700, way too cheap. Definitely an outstanding play. Alex Edler, I keep talking about him and hoping that he's going to kind of return to last year's form. It hasn't happened, but that has resulted his price to drop to 3,600. So I still have a little bit of interest in him because he's a guy that could block 10 shots tonight against the Leafs. So at 3,600, now that he's even cheaper, I like him even more than I did last week. But I'd still much prefer Brett Pesci at 3,300. Justin Holl, if you're playing the Maple Leafs, is still fine. 2 shots, 2 blocks the other night. That's kind of what you can expect from Justin Holl. He's better when they're not playing against really good offensive teams because he has a little bit more opportunity to pick up an assist at the other end. Great call on Pesci a couple days ago. Yeah, he's awesome. I love Brett Pesci. I can't believe how cheap he is. Evan Bouchard, 3,000, definitely great. Like I mentioned him earlier in the show, 3 and 4 shots in his first 2 games, picked up an assist the other night against Ottawa. Definitely an opportunity to do that again tonight. So definitely like Evan Bouchard quite a bit. Who was the other guy? There was one other. Oh, Keandre Miller, somebody I mentioned a little bit earlier too. He's fine at 2,800. If you're going to play Nashville, like I mentioned before, and you don't want to pay up for Roman Josi or Ryan Ellis, Dante Fabro still a strong play. 2,800. His price has come down a little bit. He was up in the 3,000s last week, but back down under 3. Couple shots, couple blocks, a lot. Almost every single night, and we'll chip in the occasional point. Only 2 assists in 11 games this season, but if they're going to score some goals tonight, definitely has a chance to chip in a couple points, and you can stack them with him and have an abundance of salary left over. So I definitely like Fabro with Nashville 1 tonight. In terms of goalies, man, I don't know. I hate this slate for goalies. I think Freddie is fine at 8,400. I would expect them to win that game, but it's just too expensive, I think. I'm not paying 8,400 for Anderson unless. Nah, I'm just not going to actually. I keep playing Bennington against the Coyotes, and he just keeps losing. But I still like him at 8,000. I'd probably still play him over Freddie. I don't really have a whole lot of interest in the Islanders-Rangers game from a goaltending perspective, just because I don't have a really good feel of who's going to win that game. It's a pretty tight matchup. It is a game that could get high scoring. It's also a game that could be 2-1. So it could be a good game in Target. I just really don't know. I don't have a good feel for that game at all. So I'm just not going to recommend a goalie from it because I'll probably recommend the wrong one. Like I mentioned, Nedeljkovic earlier, 7,700. He hasn't played a whole lot in his NHL career, so it's definitely a little worrisome. But the Blue Jackets, if we look at this team page, they have just been a black hole of offense all season long. The worst team in every single statistical category at 5v5 on tonight's slate in terms of producing offense. So this is a game, and on the other side of it, Carolina the best, which is no surprise. They're analytical darlings. So I think that this is a game that Carolina should definitely win. They really haven't played all that well against bad teams recently. And I know that they've talked about striving to be much better. And I think that could show up tonight. Alex Nedeljkovic has been pretty solid in his brief NHL playing time. He's 2-2-1 with a 255 goals against average and a 907 save percentage. So he has been relatively reliable. So at 7,700, I think he's one of the more likely goalies to win tonight. So I do not mind him. But you just have to know that there is definitely some concern playing a guy who's making his first start of the season. Brannstrom or Pesci, definitely Pesci. Obviously, if you need salary savings, Brannstrom's fine, but I would much prefer Pesci tonight. If I have the salary, is Freddie a decent move? I mean, yeah, if you have the salary, I don't know how you do. But if you do, then yeah, he's fine. I think they should win that game. There should still be plenty of shot volume. The Canucks are averaging 30 shots, 4 per 60 at even strength. So, some of the higher shot rates on tonight's slate. So Freddie should see a decent amount of work, which as long as he stops so much of those shots would result in him being pretty good. stopped 27 of 28 on Saturday. So definitely, if you get that kind of performance, he's terrific at 8,400. But the Canucks still have weapons. Like, I don't think they're as bad as we've seen them. I think there's a chance that they play better tonight. So I don't love him, but he's still fine. So I don't like Korpisalo at 7,600. I prefer Kemper or Ranta. They're both 7,400, whichever one starts. They both just have been outstanding. The only issue is the Coyotes really, after kind of being leaky defensively to open the season, have really tightened things up, especially in the series against St. Louis. So there's a chance that they don't see a ton of shot volume. So I don't love them, but they're fine if you need to go down there. No interest in Braden Holtby. Could get lit up. Matt Murray, same goes for him. So I guess Mike Smith might be the play tonight at 6,500. He's going to be heavily owned and could get absolutely shelled, but he could also stop 32 of 33 shots. And at 6,500, that would just be insanely valuable. So 6,500, Mike Smith looks like the best goalie play of the slate. Other than that, I mostly like Nedeljkovic and Freddie Anderson, maybe some Binnington. I don't love the Blues tonight. They're looking a little thin. They do get Sanford back tonight. I don't know. I think Binnington wins tonight. I would probably play him as my most expensive goalie at 8,000, but I think it's going to be mostly Mike Smith now. I can't believe he's 6,500. But be prepared if you're going that route. But like if you'd rather play Mike Smith and have him give up 3 goals and win at 6,500 than play Freddie Anderson and the Leafs win 4-3. And he gave up 3 goals at 8,400, right? Like that $2,000 is huge. It allows you to do whatever the hell you want. So I think Mike Smith is outstanding. But if you've been tuning in this show, like I've been giving you guys, I think, pretty fire stacks and deep hunts for weeks now. But I'll be the first to admit my goaltending picks have not been great. So I would probably, whoever you're comfortable with, trust me when it comes to who you should stack and who you should punt on D. But picking a goalie, I think I should leave that one up to you guys because I haven't had very much luck this year. So I'm going to go with Mike Smith, maybe some Nedeljkovic. Do I like Tampa 2? No, I never play Tampa 2. I like all those players. Like I love Anthony Cirelli as a player, but they just don't do much offensively. Like they have games where they go off. Like last week they had that one game where they were outstanding, but like they don't do anything offensively. Like 6 high danger chances, 4 per 60. It's terrible. It's one of the worst on the whole slate. 26 scoring chances for is fine, but like 1.75 expected goals for is not great. They're below average in terms of O score tonight. So I don't ever play them. They're an outstanding line. Like look how good they are defensively. Like in real hockey, they're one of the best lines in hockey. But in terms of DraftKings, I just never play them really. If we want to look at their matchups for you here, pretty much a mix of the Predators' top 9, and the Predators' top 9 has been pretty solid, all above average defensively thus far this season. So I think there's better spots. It was free. Oh, sorry, not the question for the show, more of a comment. You should do a video of how to use the tool. It was free on Saturday, but I didn't really understand how to use it. It was also just 2-game slate. The picks were somewhat obvious. Again, thanks for being on every day and great analysis. No problem. Yeah, so I can do a quick recap here. I got a few minutes. It was free on Saturday. Obviously, just a 2-game slate. I can't give away all the free information for the premium guys, but so what the tool is here, I'll bring it up. So I guess I never did this either yet. So these are the top stacks tonight. So what I do is it takes all of these numbers, all of these stats. Well, those two, but all of these stats, offensive and defense, right? And it simulates a game based on those statistics and how many minutes each line is projected to play, and then how many minutes each line is projected to play against each line. So like if you're going to play New York 1, for instance, when it simulates the game, it's simulating 56% of their 5v5 minutes against the Islanders' top line, which the Islanders' top line gives up 26 scoring chances, 4 per 60. So if you're a line that's going to play, let's say 56% of your ice time against Tampa 3, who gives up nothing, then your score is going to be lower. It's going to expect you to score less, create less scoring chances for. So then once it does that, it takes everybody's numbers into account, every single line on the slate that you see here, all of their projected scoring chances, projected high danger chances, projected expected goals for, and it averages them out. So this means that they're like that much better above the average line tonight. So the average line would be Ottawa 1. They're right around an average tonight at 0.01. And then Toronto 1 is 9 points above average tonight. Edmonton 1, 7 points above average. So it's just a score based on all of the projected scoring chances, expected goals for tonight's slate versus the average line on each slate. So these aren't necessarily my picks. This is literally just stats. This is, a model based on all of the underlying numbers at 5v5. And as I've mentioned before, I am continuously working on building new stuff. I am going to have a power play model coming out very soon as well. That's going to help us identify the best power play stacks, which will just be something you can use along with this 5v5. So I hope that helped. I can try to use I can create a video that explains it a little bit more in depth and kind of show you what goes on behind the scenes and how it works. But it's basically just whoever has the highest number here is the one you're going to want to play, because it's baking in all, like, these stats are great, right? Like this is great to have. All of these numbers. It's a nice snapshot of all these numbers at your fingertips. But realistically, this and this are built in to this. So those they don't really matter that much. Like, it helps you, but it's all baked into this already. All those numbers are right here, baked into one easy to read number like 9.93. So anyways, that was DFO DFS show for February 8th. Thank you guys so much for coming along with me. Please smash that like button if you're on YouTube. Best of luck to everybody tonight. Again, if you want to become a premium subscriber, you can do so for as little as $9.99 for a week or $19.99 for the month, which is much better value. If you don't like it after the month, let me know. We can cancel it. But if you do like it, like I said, you get access to all that information way before. So usually it's up around 1 o'clock. So you get access to all that way before you would, way before I come live on the show. So you can do that for, like I said, as little as $9.99. Your best value is to do it monthly, which is $19.99. And it definitely adds a lot of value. And in addition to all that stuff, you also get a lineup optimizer that allows you to build lineups, multiple lineups very quickly. So pretty helpful tool. Matt says, thanks, cheers, man. There's a hangover. Yeah. Super Bowl Sunday is rough, man. Super Bowl Monday, I guess. Awesome. Thanks again. Good luck to you. Yeah, you guys too. I had finally my first takedown of the season the other day. I almost had two in one day. Saturday, if Chikrin didn't score an empty net goal, I would have taken down the early slate, and I took down the late slate, which was cool. Thank you, Connor McDavid. So yeah, we're rolling. Best of luck to everybody. If you guys have questions, like I said, become a premium member and you get access to the premium member Discord channel where you can ask me questions throughout the day, and I can help you build lineups then as well. So enjoy. Best of luck to everybody tonight. We'll see you guys back here again, 5:15 tomorrow.